Again, crafters, it's Cynthia. I am back with another video, and this time I'm going to continue along with the little mini series I'm doing with this Wavy Coloring Book background stamp. And this is a new stamp that I got as a Christmas present, and I was so inspired by it that I've been doing several different technique videos with this. So I'm going to continue on with that today and do a little bit of rainbow coloring. So in order to achieve that, I have started off with a 4.5 by 6 inch piece of my Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock, which is kind of my go-to cardstock for card making. It's so beautiful, and it takes stamping well and coloring well and holds up well, so this is my preferred cardstock. So I've got this piece ready to go, and just like in the card video I did with that pretty eggplant cardstock, I also sectioned off a 1-inch wide strip right in the center of this piece, and I'm going to preserve this area for my sentiment. So the top and bottom pieces of this piece are going to have the stamping on it. So I think today I'm going to do something a little bit different just for the heck of it, and I'm going to use my Detail Black embossing powder, and it's a very striking look. It can be a little bit messy with the black, and you can get some very obvious black speckles all over, so hopefully we won't have that, or at least it won't be too bad. But I can't just let it sit in my drawer. So I did zoom in just a little bit so that you could get more detail of what I'm doing. I wish I had an automatic in and out zoom like a remote control or something, but I don't, so I set that up ahead of time. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take my Versamark ink pad here, and that's just a really nice ink for doing heat embossing. Now I'm just taking my embossing buddy little pillow here, and I'm really getting that surface nice and clean. And again, because the black does tend to get everywhere, I want this to be as protected as possible. So I'm going to set this down straight, and since it's 6 inches long, it's going to overhang just a bit, but that's okay. So put that down, and I'm going to reach for my little embossing, or excuse me, my little brayer here, just so I can get some really nice contact all the way to the edges. Because this is a pretty detailed stamp with some fine lines in it, so you really want to make contact everywhere you can. And then I am going to trim this panel down, so if the very edges get missed, it won't be a tragedy. And then I'm going to run my finger right where that tape meets the cardstock on the other side, because I want that to be a nice clearly defined edge. Alright, that's about as good as it's ever going to get. I'm going to lift this off, and I can see in the light the shine of the stamping, so I know it covered it well. Put that aside. The area is all dusty. Okay, get a scratched piece of paper, and now I'm going to go ahead and generously apply. I think I'm going to run my finger along the tape a little bit because there is ink on it. Clean that up just a tish. And I'm doing my best to not touch those stamped areas on the card. So I'm going to put down a good amount. And then I'm going to tip it and tap it so that powder runs down across the ink. I love using black as an accent. It's so striking. See how pretty that is? Ooh, I like that a lot. So, and in a minute you'll see me starting to clean up some of the mess from this, so don't panic yet. I'll let you know when it's time to panic. And again, tip the cardstock and tap it. Let it run down. Ooh, isn't that fun? But see, when the lines are super, super close together, you can see that powder gets pretty thick. But that's okay. I don't mind that at all. So I'm going to go ahead, set this aside for a minute, clean up my powder. Because one of the other things about black embossing powder you want to remember is that you want to be careful that you're not getting little bits and pieces of other things in it, you know, little crumbs of this and that from your desk, or, you know, a little bit of glitter from a previous project or whatever. You really want that black to stay pristine, because you will see other things in it if you get them there. Okay, so that's covered. So I'm going to call that good. I'm going to move this aside. All right. And now I'm going to heat up my heat tool and go ahead and melt all this powder. So I'll meet you back when I'm done. Well, I think that looks really pretty. Hopefully you can see all that lovely black shine that is now highlighting that gorgeous, gorgeous pattern. And like I said, even though some of these areas got awfully tight and stuff, that's totally fine. Imagine, though, if I hadn't used a detail. Oh my. You know what? I'm going to leave this here. Excuse me. I don't want to pull that up yet because I still have to do all my sponging. And again, I'm not going to cut this panel down yet. I'm going to go ahead and do all of my coloring first. If you hear my kitty, he's just being friendly, saying hello. So you'll hear that. He's a loud baby boy. All right. So again, I do have a full-size craft mat, but I'm not going to pull it out. I'm just going to take my little piece here. This is from my metal clay adventures. So it's a nice surface, and it's actually the exact same product as that big craft mat. It's just small. So my plan is to use another one of my new little toys that I got for Christmas. Is just this nice little case filled with these fabulous little sponge daubers. So they just fit right there on your fingertip. And I love using these, but I never had a full set before, so I'm all excited. And then I'm going to go ahead and use some Distress inks. So I'm going to just blah, blah, blah. Wait a minute. I'm just going to do some basic rainbow shades. So I'm going to use Barn Door, Spiced Marmalade, Mustard Seed, Mowed Lawn, and Salty Ocean. And you can do this in a million different color combinations, but for today, I just wanted to do this. So I'm going to just get my dauber ready and start putting ink on. Alright, I'm going to make one little change to my color scheme. I decided that I'm going to have the warm colors on top and the cool colors on bottom. So since there's 3 colors up here, I'm going to add the Blueprint Sketch as my darkest violet tone. So that I'm going to add. Alright, so that is what that looks like, and I think it turned out really beautiful. And I have to admit that I really enjoyed using those finger daubers. Oh my gosh. That just seemed to go so much faster than my other ink blending tools. So now this is a little damp to the touch. So you want to be aware of that. Don't put your fingers in it. So I'm going to protect it with just a little scrap here. And now I'm going to very carefully and at a sharp angle, see, it wants to tear at that edge. Oh dear. Anyway, I'm going to really slowly and carefully pull away my tape. And the amazing part is that I have this beautiful, pristine white cardstock underneath. I love this part, the reveal. I'm going to do this technique, I think, a lot more. So just slowly and carefully till I get to the end. Gently there. All right. I think that came out lovely. Oh my gosh. All right. So there is my nice little neat strip in the center, ready for the sentiment. And the one I chose is again from that fabulous stamp set by My Favorite Things. It's called the All Occasions Sentiments. And it's a really wonderful stamp set. And so this time I'm using the Get Well Soon. And I figured that beautiful, bright, happy rainbow coloring would be a wonderful Get Well card. And I don't know, I think I'll just go ahead and stamp it now. I still have to trim it down, but it won't hurt. So, how do I want to do this? You know what? I'm going to treat it first like I normally would. And instead of using the black, I'm going to do one of my favorite tricks. I do this all the time because it just looks fabulous. But I'm going to use my VersaFine ink in Onyx Black, which is just the darkest, truest black ink ever. And it is a pigment ink, so it's perfect for heat embossing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up my stamp really, really well. And on this stamp I did actually condition it by inking it and stamping it a few times until the stamping came out perfect. So it's all ready to go. I'm going to stamp it down right in the center the best I can. And I really want to make sure I get the L's, the T, the G, not just the center. Alright. Then I'm going to get a different scrap sheet that doesn't have all that black on it. Okay. And this time I'm using my Simon Says Stamp Fine Detail Clear Embossing Powder. And so like I said, this is a little trick I do all the time. I start with my VersaFine. Alright, I don't know when my camera cut off, sorry about that. Anyway, you can see here how pretty that looks, and it looks exactly the same, but there isn't all that mess. So if you guys are looking for a different way, or if you're trying to use black embossing powder and just really frustrated with how messy it is, then this is for sure an excellent option for you. So now we just want to go ahead and trim this down, and I decided that since there's so much black here on this, I'm going to use a little panel of black as an accent. So hang on just a second. So my black panel, I want to be just a little bit smaller, so I'm going to make it 5 1/4 by 4. And then this, gosh, I hate to trim this one down. That's why I was hesitating. I'm like, oh no, wait a minute. But I think I have to be mindful of the sentiment because I don't want to cut that off. But anyway, eventually I want this to be 3 3/4. Ooh, that's tight. Yikes. That was close. And then I want it to be 5. So I'm going to all right. Well, that was close, but I got it to work. All right, so this is going to sit on top of this black panel. I'm going to bring back my white paper so y'all can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so this is just going to get attached here, and I think that little black layering piece looks really nice. So even though I didn't want to cut down as much of this panel, in the long run it'll look better. And considering how easy it was to color this with those daubers, I can feel free to make more of these and cover, you know, make it big enough to cover up the whole card front. No problem. So this still has a little bit of embossing powder sticking to it. I can feel it grainy. So, and then here's my little card base, and like I mentioned, it's just an A2, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it's just a side folding card this time. Very traditional. I'm just going to go ahead and do this with my hand. Sometimes I have so many tools and gadgets I forget that sometimes your hands work just as well. Okay, and then this panel is finally going to sit across the face of the card. So one more time with the tape runner. And it's really nice for cards because a little bit goes a long way. All right, so again, just going to try to keep an even reveal around the edges. There. Oh my goodness. Wow. I am so pleased with the way this turned out. I am just thrilled. Well, hopefully you enjoy it as much as I do. And like I said, I really recommend that you get yourself some of those ink daubers if you don't have any. You do not have to buy that whole big case full of them. You can just get replacement daubers at a smaller quantity for less money. So just get a few in your inventory, and I think once you start using them, you're going to love them. And then of course, I can't say enough about distress inks. They're fabulous. There's a lot of colors, but I have all of them pretty much. I think there's 2, possibly 3 that I don't have of the lightest tones. But I use them constantly. They're amazingly versatile, and when you're someone who enjoys techniques like this, they're indispensable. So especially now that they have the little 1-inch size cubes, it is a smart investment in my opinion. So if you want to give those a try, please do. So thanks so much for joining me. I'm having a lot of fun with this series. There's only one more technique that I want to try with this background stamp, and then I'll move on to something different. But in the meantime, I'm having fun with this. So you guys take care of yourselves. Please come back again soon to see my other videos, and take care. Bye-bye.